Hello everybody, welcome to this week's edition of SMSC / Wellbeing / PSHE / all the kind of worldly things that you guys need to know about in order to be active citizens in the society that you live in. May it be the British society for you to live here forever, or to go and explore the world. So I'm going to now present my screen so that you can see what I'm talking about today, and today is all about pride. Okay, I had to get the flag in there. I do apologise. You guys, you know that it is a really important celebration that we will celebrate every single year, like we celebrate Black History Month in October, and how we commemorate and remember Remembrance Day, and also key things in our British history, really centered around World War II, to be fair, and World War One. But really the main thing is to ensure that we are, of course, keeping in touch with the rest of the world, because we know that Pride is a global celebration. This does as well lend really well into your sex and relationship education, and kind of consolidating your British values education, which of course we will talk about more at the end. Okay guys, so let's quickly recap who, what, where, who are LGBTIQ+. So of course, lesbian, a woman who's emotionally or physically attracted to another woman. Gay, a man who's emotionally or physically attracted to other men. And some women do prefer to be called gay rather than lesbian. That's completely, whatever they feel comfortable with. Bisexual is a person who could be emotionally and or physically attracted to women or men. And guys, I hope you kind of recognise in here we're talking about emotional and physical attraction. I won't go into the details of physical attraction because this is a lesson for everybody to see. And I know that normally we get lots of kind of questions when we're having class discussions, we're in our safe space within the classroom, but really we're going to be focused on the emotional, the love side of things. I'm a romantic, and building that kind of love and honesty and trust between two people. Now, transgender is different from sexuality. So remember, guys, sexuality and gender are completely different things. Gender is whether or not you feel masculine or feminine. So transgender is a person whose gender identity or gender expression differs in some way from the assumptions made about them when they were born, otherwise known as sex assigned at birth. So of course, if you have a baby with a vagina, you say girl, therefore taking on feminine gender ideas and expressions, whereas if the baby has a penis, then it is obviously male, boy. And a trans person is somebody who as they develop and they mature into a teenager, into an adult, or even from a very young age, could actually feel more of the opposite gender. Queer is a person who does not conform to normalised societal constructions and identities. So that might be, for example, a person who has been born with a penis, so assigned as male, however transitions to female, but fancies men. Does that make them gay? Does that make them straight? What does that make them? And sometimes that can just be really confusing. And again, these are labels that we have created as a society, especially in the Western world and as for the Eastern world. But of course, if you go into tribes, there's loads of research, tribes in Papua New Guinea, and even African tribes, where their gender roles and their sex utterly different to what we have in the UK. So remember, guys, this is all something that we have created as a society, kind of touching upon sociology there. Intersex is a person who is born with reproductive or sexual anatomy that doesn't fit the boxes of female or male. So it could be a case that a baby is born with both penis and vagina, male, female genitalia. And there's been a lot of awareness around these people now, because back in the olden days, or even when, you know, I was born, it still happens today, doctors would make the decision to perform surgery on the baby so that they either have a penis or a vagina. But the thing is, guys, when they obviously grow up, they're still going to have hormones of both. And that can obviously really lead to some big problems with gender identification for that person. So yeah, there's been a lot of work going on at the moment about whether or not it is right for doctors to kind of assign the birth and perform the surgery on the baby. Because, you know, what if, you know, I don't know, they remove the penis and therefore bring us as a girl, and then, you know, they feel a little bit, you know, more masculine when they're older. You know, is that morally right? So, you know, there's lots and lots of work going on at the moment around this, because before no one spoke about it. And that can lead to, you know, big mental health issues. And as we know, guys, we're all about education, safe education, and making sure that you guys know what's going on in the world, and how to respond to things as well. And I guess the main thing that we always promote is compassion. You know, put yourself in that person's shoes. What would you do if that was you? How would you feel if that was you? Because compassion really is, you know, the way that we want to be creating the ways that we behave with each other. You know, just be nice. Be kind. Hashtag be kind. Now, the last two I've put in blue because these are the normalised identities when it comes to sexuality and gender. So straight, also known as heterosexual, is a person who is sexually attracted to the opposite sex. Now, this is the most accepted sexuality across the world and has never, ever, ever been a crime. Cisgender is a person who identifies as the gender assigned at birth. So little girl, baby, has a vagina, girl, and then feels feminine and therefore identifies as a woman. So as a whole, guys, the two in blue, being straight and cisgender, are the majority of people in the UK and in the world. But of course, we always do have a minority of people, may that be with sexuality, which is what we're talking about today, and gender, or may that be race, or may that be disability, or may that be class. You know, if we're looking at different, you know, working class, poor versus rich, and all of those kinds of things. You know, we're all people living in this society, living in this world together. And the way that we have peace is by accepting people who are different to us. And how can we accept people who are different to us if we do not know that they exist? And this is the whole point of what we're learning about today. So it is Pride Month, and therefore I'm going to touch upon quickly around the gender-bred person, not ginger, gender-bred person, because this really does demonstrate about, you know, why people sometimes are gay, or why people are trans, or why people are straight. You know, there's been a lot of kind of research around, you know, is there a gay gene? Is there some sort of gene which is passed down, which perhaps makes somebody gay? Again, there's lots of kind of different research into it, and lots of research is showing that yes, it is. You know, if you are gay or lesbian or whatever, you are born that way. It's nothing that you can learn and internalize. I always give the example of my cousins. I've got 3 boy cousins, all from, you know, they're brothers. 2 of them are straight and 1 of them is gay, and they've all been brought up the same way, you know, exactly the same way. But my cousin, his name is Joe, I'm sure he doesn't mind me saying, hi Joe if you're watching this, is gay and always has, you know, identified as that. So, you know, please don't think, oh, because we're talking about gay people, it means I'm going to turn gay, because that's completely and utterly wrong. There's no proof in that at all. That is a very, very misinformed idea. So if we look at identity, guys, gender identity is within your brain, how you feel within your brain. Are you more masculine? Are you more feminine? Me, myself, I'm feminine. I'm very, very girly in that sense. I wear lots of pink, and I do conform to society's ideas of what a woman should be. and that's just the way that I am. Just like a gay person's the way that they are. I am the way that I am. I am a woman, and there's no shame in that. I'm proud to be a woman. We should all be proud of who we are. Attraction, so sexual attraction again, and with gender and sexuality, guys, it can be a spectrum, so you can change throughout your life. I remember when I was a teenager, I felt quite masculine. I went for like a skater look, and I was down and I was skateboarding with the boys, and I wanted to play football. I wanted to cut my hair really short. And that was kind of like a phase that I went through as I was growing up. And now I'm completely different. So, just because you're feeling something at the moment may not mean, you're going to feel it forever, or it might be. And it's completely, up to you as a person, and only time will tell, and only you will know how you feel. I mean, when I was getting into football and stuff, I didn't want to be trans, not at all. But I was just going through, a moment of exploring different gender identities, which many people do, and it's fine, it's natural. And that's the same with sexual attraction as well. Some people might, think, right, okay, I'm a woman, I'm attracted to him, so I'm a lesbian. And then all of a sudden they'll meet a man and be like, oh, okay, well, I'm straight now and I'm a heterosexual. And again, doesn't matter, does it? It just, as I said, be kind and be compassionate and be thoughtful of people. I think it's when we're trying to pigeon people in boxes where, oh no, you can only be this and you can only be that. And that's when you start to see relationships breaking down within families and within friendships, and when people become isolated. And that's when you see a lot of people becoming homeless as well, if their families are not accepting of that person within the family, and therefore they have to move out. There's a really good series on BBC iPlayer called Pose. And I've only watched the first episode last night because a friend recommended it to me. And that's the case of this young boy. He was a dancer, identified as gay. His dad was very, very upset, disagreed with it. Dad chucked him out, and young boy ended up homeless. Now, isn't that sad? Really, really, really sad. Families being driven apart, and at the end of the day, you can't change the way that you are. So, as I said, we can only maybe begin to be compassionate and loving if we understand it, and that comes from education. So here is a map that was created last year to show the worst and safest countries for LGBTQ plus people. So the pink is showing that it is safe, and the darker colour is showing where it is not safe. So as you can see, Canada, the US, all of South America, Greenland, the UK, there we are, teeny tiny country, France, Spain, all of these places are safe. However, if we move over to Russia, China, Kazakhstan, a lot of African countries are unsafe. A lot of Asian countries too. India is changing at the moment, which is really great to see. But we've got lots of kind of, especially Indonesia. Now, Indonesia, I've been to twice now. And I thought it was going to be all Buddhism there, but it's not. It's Islam is their predominant religion, and as we know, Islam, building from Christianity and Judaism, have very, very, very strict religious laws around sexual behaviour, and homosexuality is a sin, which is derived from Christianity. We've got a lot of Christian churches that are going, you know what, the book is outdated. That was written at a time, 4,000 years ago. We need to be more accepting and more liberal in our approach to different relationships, which is really, really great. Whoop, whoop. But that's not for all Christian denominations, as we know, and the Catholic Church has some way to go. They are kind of reviewing their ideas, but with Islam, and again, Islam are beginning. I've got some Muslim groups, and openly gay Muslims coming out and saying, hello, I'm gay and I'm a Muslim and God still loves me and all that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, other Muslim countries aren't there yet. I went to London Pride 2 years ago, and there was a Muslim group of people marching, I am gay and Allah loves me. And there's a saying, isn't there? If your God is not love, then you are praying to the wrong God. And guys, with my RS lessons, we're always about love, 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 respect, just be kind. Okay, so we often sometimes get this question. Yeah, so why don't we have straight pride? Now, I understand, guys, why some of you may ask that question, but if you are asking that question, then perhaps you haven't really taken on board the lessons that we've learned in the previous years. So, guys, the reason why we do not have a straight pride is because being straight has never been a crime. So I found this on Facebook, which I thought was really great. It said, why don't we have straight pride? Highlighted below in red are all the countries where it is illegal, so it is a crime, to be heterosexual, straight. Where people are ridiculed, they're beaten, they are tortured, they're imprisoned, and in some cases they are murdered for being gay. Can you see anything which is in red? No. Now, that is the reason, guys, because it's never, ever, 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 ever been an issue for people who are straight and cisgender to live their life. They've been completely free to live their life. But anybody who is not cisgender or heterosexual, then they have unfortunately had those terrible things happen to them. So we don't want to dwell too much on that because Pride, as I said, is a celebration. We're celebrating the things that have been achieved as a society, using compassion as a driving force, kindness as a driving force in doing that. So we're going to focus on the UK. Now, this is an article from Pink News, which is an LGBTQ plus I magazine. So these are 15 rights that LGBT people in the UK still do not have, and this was written this year. So number one, gay conversion therapy is still legal in the UK. Now, if you don't know, guys, gay conversion therapy is when is therapy trying to make a gay person not gay. In previous years, that may have included electroshock therapy, where patients, people seen as mentally ill, were strapped up and have an electrical pulses sent through them, which did cause brain damage. That's completely inhumane and immoral, and thank God that doesn't happen anymore with the electrical shock therapy. But conversion therapy, which is about talking, it still happens today. Now, the government was meant to be banning conversion therapy in their LGBT action plan in 2018. However, it still has not yet happened. So that is one thing that people are campaigning for this year. Please, government, can you make conversion therapy illegal in this country? If you're gay, you are born that way, and you're not going to be able to change that in any way through talking about it. It's your choice. Now, I did say that sexuality is a spectrum and it can change, but that is down to that person and having the human right to change who they, want to be in a relationship with. It shouldn't be dictated to you by other people, forcing you to be something that you're not. I mean, imagine, I am a white person. Imagine if someone said, oh, no, you're not white. You need to be Asian. You need to go to Asian therapy. It doesn't work, does it? It doesn't work. Number two, trans prisoners are put in the wrong prisons. So people are put in prison according to their legal gender. So this means that transgender prisoners without a gender recognition certificate are initially placed in a prison matching the gender they were assigned with at birth. So, say, for example, I was born female, I transitioned to male, I have committed a crime, and now I need to go to prison. They will put me in a female prison, even though I look like a man, I sound like a man, I have transitioned to male, but I have not yet had my gender recognition certificate come through. So, it's really, 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 really a traumatic thing for that person to have to go through. I mean, I know some people will say, well, they shouldn't have committed a crime in the first place and things like that, but we don't know what these people have been through. We don't know what led to this crime. Could it be that this person, I don't know, was being attacked and they've fought back? we don't know, the ins and outs, and every single case would be subject to, of course, the different ideas. However, I know that if I was put in prison for whatever reason, I'd want some sort of human rights to be respected still. I'm sure that everybody would agree with that, for whatever reason, if you were in that situation, what would you want? Again, put yourself in other people's shoes. In 2015, 2 trans women died by suicide in the space of 2 months while being held in male prisons in the UK. Because you've got to think about the bullying as well. If you're going to be going into a prison, going to prison is tough as it is. And then if you're going, looking like a woman to a male prison, and even though, you feel like you are female, the bullying is going to be quite, and the way that you're going, even if there isn't a kind of any external bullying, the way that you're feeling comfortable within that situation is going to be really, really difficult. Number 3, gay and bi men cannot donate blood for 3 months after having sex. This has been the case since 2017, and before that, men who had sex with men could only give blood if they'd not had sex for a year, which is still the criteria in Northern Ireland. Now, guys, with the whole idea of kind of giving blood, that relates to the AIDS pandemic back in the 80s. So as we know, guys, HIV is the illness and the disease which is transmitted not only through sexual intercourse but also through blood. It's blood and sexual intercourse. And unfortunately, the gay community was hit very, very hard with the AIDS virus. However, this is not the case today. Many, many straight people everybody is at risk of HIV if you are having unprotected sex without a condom. So, it's again, that is really kind of singling out the gay community as, you might be more at risk and therefore you cannot donate blood. Which, it's discrimination. It really is. And, we can understand why it was that way. But in the year 2020, especially with the HIV rates for straight people and gay people, they're not exactly the same, but they are, it is common. Is that acceptable? Number 4, there's no non-binary gender option on passports. So that basically means you cannot tick whether or not you are trans. You still have to go for male or female. Now, Jamie Windlust is a non-binary activist. He launched a petition to get the government to change this. Number 5, HIV, which is what I've just spoken about. The drug to prevent it is not widely available. Now, guys, the HIV virus, as I said, there is no cure for it, but you can prevent it. Obviously, number 1 prevention is to have safe sex. Of course, guys, if you're watching this and you're in year 7, you'll be learning more about contraception when you come back into year 8. You was meant to be learning about contraception now in the summer term, but I thought it might be a bit too risky setting you home learning to learn about contraception at home. So I thought you could wait until you get back until year 8. But basically, when we're talking about sex, it is really, really important that we know to always use a condom or to use a dental dam. Now, dental dam is like a latex covering for other people having sex. Okay, so it's not currently subsidised by the NHS, and in April 2019, 2/3 of London sites involved in the trial of drug had reached its capacity. So this drug is good, it's going to help people, but unfortunately it's not widely available. So again, people are asking why is it not? Okay, number 6, there is no central LGBT plus venues that are fully accessible. So if you are a disabled person and you identify as any of these, then you cannot go to these venues where, of course, you could meet people, make friends, you can socialise. So again, imagine if that was you. Imagine if you were unable to go and see your friends because you were in a wheelchair. It's not fair. Number 7, intersex babies are still operated on by the NHS. Now, I've got a picture here of Valentino. I met Valentino last year at a Pride conference. She was born with both genitalia, penis and vagina. Doctor made a decision to remove the penis, and she was raised as a girl. When she was at school, hit puberty, started puberty as a boy, growing a beard. Then spoke to her parents and found out that she was in fact intersex, so both male and female. Now, Valentino is doing a lot of amazing work at the moment, educating people. I had no idea about this until I went to the Pride conference last year. So yeah, amazing work by Valentino to, really give parents and make parents aware that, this could happen to your baby, and if it does happen to your baby, know what you can and cannot do in that situation, because at the end of the day, it's your baby. Number 8, gay marriage is still illegal in Northern Ireland. So 5 years after same-sex marriage was legalised in the rest of the UK, it remains banned in Northern Ireland. MPs Caroline Lucas and Vince Cable have backed a new campaign to try and lift this ban. Number 9, sex education doesn't teach LGBT relationships yet. So in 2020, which is now, there is a change of legislation, which has been a well-needed change around this. So it is now statutory legal in the year 2020. From September, you have to teach about this. Now, guys, we're quite ahead of the game. We've always been teaching about this because we follow the PSHE Association programme, which always talks about sexuality and how important it is for you to know and be aware. Be aware of everything, really. You should know. You've got a right to know. Number 10, LGBT plus people can't travel safely on public transport. Guys, this year, last year, a lesbian couple were beaten up by 4 men after they refused to kiss on demand. The women were left covered in blood on a London night bus. That's absolutely terrible. And that should never happen to anybody in the UK. Number 11, teaching kids that LGBT plus people exist has caused protests in 2 cities. So parents of primary school children, some parents of primary school children believe that if you talk about, being homosexual, being gay, that their kids might turn gay, or it might confuse their children in some way. So it's really, really difficult, guys, because I know that some parents may feel this way. I know that my stepdad certainly did. My stepdad was extremely homophobic, gays are wrong, blah, 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 blah. And that has kind of made me the person that I am today, why I'm just promoting kindness all the time, because he had no kind of understanding of what other people go through. And that always made me feel quite sad for him. And I think that's why I've kind of gone down the route that I have, because I want to make sure that people are given that education, because, he was very kind of filled with hate for certain people, which isn't good for him, let alone good for other people. So this, it's really, really, really difficult, because of course, we've got a sign here, Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, and obviously that's really kind of indoctrinated from religion. Saying no to discrimination against our children. Now, guys, schools will never, ever, ever say, oh, you're going to be gay or you're going to be a lesbian. No, that's just silly. It's about educating and bringing awareness around, different types of families, different types of people, because as we know, guys, if people do not understand and there's a block, it can sometimes lead to discrimination, which is illegal. It's all about education. Now, Nelson Mandela, absolutely love him. He said that education is the greatest tool in bringing love, and that has always been my mantra, my kind of driving force as a teacher. Number 12, in Northern Ireland, trans people can be legally discriminated against. So trans people can legally be refused housing in Northern Ireland because of their gender identity. So imagine that, being born in Northern Ireland, you've got a tough life as it is, guys, because I'll say this again and again, trans people, they would definitely prefer just to be normal. Gay people would probably prefer to be normal. And I say normal like this because, I don't think that, to be gay is unnormal, but that is kind of, the idea of society, that if you're not anything but straight and, cisgender gender you're assigned with, then you are abnormal. And these people, just want to live a normal life, just like you and me, everybody. So imagine that, being refused to even have a house in the country that you're born in, what would you do? You'd have to move, wouldn't you? You'd have to move to a safer country. Number 13, sexuality and gender identity are not included in the census. So guys, the next census is in 2021, and there has been a Scottish Parliament vote on June 12th of last year to ask about people's sexuality and gender identity in the next census. So that'll be really, really interesting when that comes out. Number 14, 24% of homeless young people are LGBT+. As I said, guys, you know, if you're not safe at home, you've got to leave your home. And if you've got not a new home to go to, that's when we see homelessness. So again, you know, let's promote love and understanding. Number 15, the Gender Recognition Act still hasn't been reformed. Now, this was a really good piece of legislation, but there needs to be some work to it because it's not quite there yet. So the Conservative Women and Equalities Minister said in November 2018 that the government would respond to the GRA consultation by spring 2019, but no sign yet. Theresa May did promise it would be looked into in 2017. It still has not, so we're still waiting. So what is it like around the rest of the world? So the map by the International Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Trans and Intersex Association shows that only 65% of those living in the United Nations countries around the world can now be legally in consensual same-sex relationships. So basically, legally, it is okay. That's 65% of countries. However, then we do have the 35% which still are not. So we've got 35% of countries in the world where it is not safe to be who you are, because as I said, you can't change it. 70 countries in the world still criminalise LGBT plus sexual acts between adults. So again, imagine that you've fallen in love with somebody, you want to be with that somebody, and then you are thrown in prison because of it. It is illegal in Gaza, the Cook Islands, and some provinces in Indonesia, which I've kind of explained to you it's Muslim majority there. LGBT plus people are being killed in 12 countries who have had the death penalty for consensual same-sex sexual acts between adults. In Iran, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Sudan, this death penalty is regularly imposed across the county. A further 6 have legal or religious provisions that also allow for the death penalty. Oh, guys, so, you know, around the world, again, it's not safe in certain countries. In the UK, it is. In Canada, it is. In Australia, it is. But as we saw, going back to that map that we looked at the beginning, it is not in some places. So, guys, you know, this is quite a, I wouldn't say hard-hitting PowerPoint, and I know that some parents may feel that perhaps their children shouldn't learn about certain things like this at this time. However, with the rise of the internet and everything, and as well, you know, just children talking, you know, they're always going to have a lot of questions, especially from this age of year 7 going up to year 13. You know, children saying things in corridors and asking questions about things. I know certainly when I was at school, we had lots of kind of questions from year 7 from things that people had shown us. And that's the nature as well. You know, think of the year 2020 with our mobile phones, our mobile devices. You know, our kids are being exposed to certain things. It's really important that we do have a safe way to talk about it, which is what we're doing right now. Okay, now this picture comes from the Stonewall riots of 1969. So as we know, it is now officially Pride, Happy Pride, and that is because of the Stonewall riots in 1969. Now, guys, I always talk about this. This is just a really, really quick one, just in case you don't know. But of course, it was in New York City. The police, even though it become legalized in the US, the police were still victimizing and kind of tormenting the gay community, and it was in 1969 that they actually said no and they fought back, and there were a couple of days of riots in New York City, and from then the police kind of had to change their tactic around dealing with the gay community because it was no longer a crime, and there was a kind of a period of change that law enforcers had to get used to. You know, these people can kiss if they want to, they can hold hands if they want to. This is Marsha P. She is a black trans woman who was there at the Stonewall riots, and she was really, really famous for standing up for people during that time. And she also created a protest group to continue the fight for their rights. So she says, how many years has it taken people to realise that we are all brothers and sisters and human beings in the human race? Brothers and sisters. Yes, this is kind of some information that I just spoke about, but the Stonewall riots, 51 years ago, 1969, it was 3 nights of unrest because of police brutality against the LGBT community. Okay, guys, so as I said, if you've got any questions at all, always talk to your families, or if you prefer to talk to us, we're always here to help you. Childline, Stonewall, Young Minds, Couth, they are amazing websites. You can even go on the NHS. You can text the school nurse. There's loads of people you can talk to if you need to. And as we know, guys, you know, we can't not talk about these topics because it's everywhere, absolutely everywhere, and we are providing you a safe space to talk about it in. How does today link in British values? Of course, we're always British values. Our British values are democracy, of course, rule of law, tolerance of different cultures and religions, mutual respect and individual liberty. Well, everything I've spoken to today lends itself all throughout here. Lovely. So thank you so much for listening to me. Stop presenting. I'll try to be kind of quick because I know that I can go on and on. But I hope that you have enjoyed today, this week's SMSC. Happy Pride, stay safe. And if you've got any questions at all, you can always email us. Thank you so much. Goodbye.